Hi, I'm Heather Warlick, and this is Entertainment Insider, an entertainment roundtable discussion, and this week we're talking about the Oscars. So the first question is going to go to George Lang. So is Slumdog Millionaire still the underdog, or is it now the movie to beat?
I think it's both, actually. I think there are more conventional voters in the Academy who might gravitate towards something that's more conventionally epic, like Benjamin Button or Frost Nixon or something like that. But at the same time, I think that Slumdog has established the kind of buzz that you dream about for Oscars. So while I think that it's not every year that you have a nominee like this. But I think that I think the energy that's surrounding this movie, I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to do it.
Brandy McDonald?
Well, I think that Slumdog Millionaire definitely is the movie to beat now. It's just got all the momentum going into it. Won 7 BAFTAs. The BAFTAs are a great indicator of the Oscars, including Best Picture. It also won the top award for the Golden Globes and for the SAG. So I think it's hard to imagine a scenario where it's not Best Picture at this point.
Great. Gene?
Yeah, it's if it means anything, it's still in the top 10 of all the nominated pictures. It's the only one that's still out there. Its box office has been building during this gradual expansion of its release. I think in the beginning it would have been Benjamin Button, but I think Slumdog has kind of pulled ahead of Brad Pitt's golden youth vehicle, and I think it's
interesting.
The one.
All right, last comment, Matt Price.
And I'll agree with them. I think it's still the favorite going in. There are some different scenarios that play out where it might not win, but I think you've got to look at it as a favorite.
Okay. All right, next question. Most moviegoers surveyed by MovieTickets.com think that the greatest Best Picture upset in Academy Award history was when Shakespeare in Love beat out Saving Private Ryan in 1999. So do any of this year's contenders have the potential to cause that kind of an upset, Gene?
Yes, I think the reader definitely does. I think Harvey Weinstein has a kind of a reputation for last-minute politicking.
Absolutely.
Some of it's kind of dirty pool.
We talked about that.
Including with Shakespeare in Love.
And it was, I think it was the last one to go into release. I think it's probably the freshest in voters' minds. I think it really has a good chance. Plus, Holocaust-themed films seem to find favor with voters. Mm-hmm. And also, executive producer Sidney Pollack, who was a much-loved figure in Hollywood, passed away just recently, and I think that's going to make it a sentimental favorite. So.
Right.
Interesting. Brandy, what do you think?
Well, I agree with Gene. I definitely think the reader is the one that has the chance of being a long shot here. It's almost like this year, because there were so many Holocaust-themed movies, Boy in Striped Pajamas, Defiance, Adam Resurrected, it almost seems like it's representing all of them. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people were really surprised at the Best Picture nominations for this one, whenever films like The Dark Knight and The Wrestler got left out. But so I definitely think that this one would be an upset if it won.
Okay, let's go to you, Matt.
I'll also agree with the Weinstein politicking making the reader the best dark horse choice. I think there's a chance you could see Milk also sneak in if something else is going to win. But I think those are probably your two best. If you're wanting to bet on an upset, those are your two best ones to pick in the Best Picture category.
Do you agree, George?
Yeah, I think especially on Milk, because the lion's share of the Academy voters live in California, and because of Prop 8 and everything, I think that that a film about a gay rights pioneer could actually score an upset, because gay rights initiatives are so ever present in Californians' minds right now. So I think Milk could actually do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the next question is, looking back on past Best Picture nominees that didn't win, which one tops your list of movies that were robbed of what was rightfully theirs? Let's start with Brandy.
Well, I think the late 90s were bad for Best Picture picking. Shakespeare in Love over, and all these things. But the one that I still scratch my head over is how Titanic managed to beat LA Confidential in 97. I mean, epic love story. I don't care how much huge box office it had. It still wasn't as good of a film to me as the neo-noir thriller LA Confidential. I still that one's the one that keeps me up at night.
Okay. How about Matt?
Well, as I was looking through the list trying to determine who had been kind of ripped off in Oscar history, Martin Scorsese's name comes up a lot. In 1990, probably the biggest one for me is when Dances with Wolves took the Best Picture over Goodfellas. But also in 1980, you could argue that Ordinary People shouldn't have won over Raging Bull. And of course, I'll point out that Empire Strikes Back didn't even get a nomination in 1980. So similar to the Dark Knight scenario this year.
Okay. Gene?
Well, I think the biggest upset of all time, biggest injustice, was way back in 1941 with when Citizen Kane lost to How Green Was My Valley, which is a good movie, but it doesn't doesn't come anywhere close to Citizen Kane, as history demonstrates since then. I think it was kind of ridiculous when Rocky beat out Taxi Driver in '76. Another one would be a big surprise was when Crash beat out Brokeback Mountain, which was back in 2006.
Okay.
Those come to mind.
George.
Pulp Fiction versus Forrest Gump. Okay, I mean, at our Oscar party in 1995, it was. We were out for blood on that one. When Forrest Gump won, I think we saw this as as endemic of every social struggle that has ever that mankind has ever faced. We were ready to turn over cars that night, and I still think about that. It was indie versus establishment. We thought, okay, here is a chance for Pulp Fiction to win it out. That Tarantino had a shot, but no, it was horrible. It was
a little
horrible.
personal.
It took it very personal. I mean, you could. I lived in Norman at the time. I think you could have heard our wailing and gnashing of teeth and rending of garments all over the city.
That's what that sound was. I remember
That's right.
that. All right, last question. Keep it short because we're running out of time. Which Oscar race is the toughest to predict this year, Matt?
Well, I think Best Actor, you've got two really strong nominees. Kind of tough to say, is that going to go to Sean Penn for Milk or Mickey Rourke for The Wrestler? Also, Best Supporting Actress has a ton of great nominees, so that could almost any of them could pull that one off.
Okay, Gene?
Yeah, I agree with Supporting Actress. I think that's a tough one to call. I'm rooting for Marissa Tomei because I thought she was great in The Wrestler, but you've got quite a field here with Amy Adams and Penelope Cruz, especially. She might sneak in and
Okay,
cause an
Brandy?
upset.
I'm with Jean. I think Best Supporting Actress, definitely. There's so many great actresses. Who will cancel whom out really becomes a question.
Okay, George?
I think Viola Davis could be the squeaker in that category, but without question, Best Supporting Actress, and I don't think anybody's going to be terribly disappointed if one wins out over the other.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thanks, guys. That's great information. And don't forget to watch the Oscars Sunday night at 7 p.m. on ABC. George and Brandy are going to be doing a live chat. And also, George, you're going to be doing a live blog. You doing that also? Okay. So you can kind of interact with us at newsok.com/entertainment. And that's it for Entertainment Insider this week. For more on entertainment, check out the Weekend Look section of the Oklahoman, the A&E section of newsok.com, and, of course, wimgo.com.